Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I'm going to go over the new warding skill that Jagex proposed at RuneFest 2018, which was last week, and I want to go over what I like and I dislike about it and what I would want to add if I could. So right now I'm going to be playing the video that Jagex posted, and they basically go over the skill and they kind of show what it's going to be like. So I'm going to be kind of dissecting this video, pausing it at certain points, and kind of just giving my opinion on it. So if you guys have not read about it, I would highly suggest reading into this, watching this video on your own, and then coming back and watching it with me so you can kind of have an idea what's going on. But without further ado, let's get this started.
The footage within this video is not actual gameplay and was created using concept art. The design is still subject to change and you can find the most up-to-date details on the Old School website.
So I'm going to stop that right there. A lot of people on Reddit, and it seems on the comment section too, don't understand this disclaimer. I see a lot of things that Jagex try to propose, and they give really shitty modeled like armor or something, and then they think it's going to be like that in the game, and they're like, oh, that looks like shit, I don't want to vote on this. Or they look at something like, oh, you're just copying animations for this. They give you a disclaimer at the beginning of this video that this is not what it's going to end up being like. This is kind of using as placeholders of what it can be. And I really don't know why people cannot understand this simple fact that these are proposed ideas. Even the ideas in this video aren't 100% in stone. They're kind of just throwing out ideas for the skill. If we like some parts, great. If we don't like parts, then they could take it out. It's not like what they're proposing right now is what it's going to be like 100%. I just want to get that through to a lot of people because I think the skill is a really good concept and you'll find out pretty soon why.
The ground shook, and across the land 6 ominous rocks rose from the earth in a swirl of magic and rubble. The scholars of the wizards...
So did you hear that? There are 6 stones that come up from the ground. So it's going to kind of be like rune crafting, how there's a specific area for each type of rune that you can go to. So that's kind of how it's going to be. And also, they want to propose this to be free to play. And if it is free to play, then a majority of these stones will be in free to play. Just something to pick up there.
Tower were quick to act, and swiftly began studying these monolithic monstrosities and their peculiar properties. They quickly discovered a way to manipulate the energy within the rocks, utilizing various magical tools to create armor with impressive magical capabilities. Dive into Old School's first new skill by discovering the hidden armaments of the Wizard's Tower and gaining valuable insight into the practices of warding. There you will learn the intricacies of drawing wards and channeling runic energies to create a vast assortment of armors specifically for wizards and witches. Warding is a brand new skill being proposed for Old School RuneScape, available to members and partially in free-to-play. One of the core ideas behind warding is creating a skill which feels as if it could have been a part of RuneScape since day one. A skill which fills a clear gap, fitting into the game seamlessly, solving a number of problems, all while giving you more content to enjoy. Let's take a look at exactly what warding is and what it has to offer. There are many pieces of magic equipment which are a mystery in the eyes of the player. Blue wizard robes, Zamorak robes, mystic robes, split bark. They are abundant throughout the world, primarily dropped by monsters, sold by NPCs, and in some cases crafted by them. But we have been left in the dark. What are they made from? Where do those materials come from? And how are they crafted? We know the answer for many metal armors all the way back to the source of each ore. We are capable of making it ourselves through mining and smithing. The same can be said for leather ranged equipment. We can slay the dragons ourselves and craft their hides into armor. But magic equipment remains largely a mystery. And this is where warding comes in. Warding is to magic what smithing is to melee, or crafting is to ranged. It's a skill which allows you to create magical equipment for witches and wizards. On top of creating magic gear, the skill also allows you to imbue items and dissolve some pieces of equipment to retrieve the energies and base resources which make them up.
Alright, I want to stop that right there. There's a lot of information that they went over. One of the main things I want to go over is some people... I'm sorry, I just hit my microphone. A lot of people on Reddit, I guess not a lot, but some people on Reddit think that this skill should just be added into crafting. However, I disagree. I think this niche is perfect. It's something that there's a hole in RuneScape, I guess you can say, that can be filled with this skill. If you add it They can technically add it to crafting because that's kind of what it is, but at the same time, crafting is so oversaturated with different methods to train it that this will just kind of pile on more stuff. So why not take this as an advantage and put it into a new skill? Because like if you think about it, glass blowing and crafting, that can technically be a new skill because there's so much things you can make through glass blowing, or making pottery too. Like that could be a separate skill if you think about it. So I think instead of adding more stuff onto that, it is a good idea to keep it a separate skill. Also, they mentioned through the skill you can imbue items. Basically, the items that you can imbue in Nightmare Zone, they want to remove it from Nightmare Zone, so you can imbue it through this skill. Now, I don't know how I feel about this. I know that it's a good idea to add imbuing to the skill. However, I think they should keep it in Nightmare Zone and somehow connect the two. Either you get like tickets or something doing Nightmare Zone, then you can use those tickets somehow to imbue it. But I feel like using it through warding should be faster to imbue a ring than just sitting in Nightmare Zone. So you can still do it in Nightmare Zone if you want to. It'll just take a lot longer. But I feel like just totally removing it from Nightmare Zone isn't such a good idea, but that's just my opinion. Also, they quickly went over the dissolving feature, which kind of is like reverse smelting. So if you put ore into a furnace, you get bars. So what this dissolving thing is going to do, and you'll put the bars into the furnace, and then you'll have a chance of getting the ore back. That's kind of like an example of what it's going to be like. A lot of people think it's like Invention. Even though I've never trained Invention, I don't think it's close to Invention at all. I think it's basically like you have a ton of plate bodies, and instead of alching them to save a ton of money, I don't need money, I need ore, I need bars. So you'll dissolve those plate bodies and get a chance of getting some bars back. It's not like you're going to get them 100% back, so you can keep on recycling it and getting XP back and forth. That's not how it's going to work. So I don't really know how I feel about it. I feel like it'll be a really interesting... I feel like it really catered towards Ironman, but people outside of Ironman status, they're either just going to sell those items to the GE or they're going to alch them. There's no need for them to dissolve them. Unless that's a way to get XP to train the skill, if that's like kind of like in fletching, how once you finish making the bow, you can put the bowstring on. So I guess once you finish making the magical armor, you can dissolve it, and it's more XP. That's what I'm kind of thinking, but I don't really think many people are going to take advantage of that.
Warding ties in with a number of other skills, taking the resources they provide and allowing you to turn them into a variety of wizardy garments. One of the most important aspects of any new skill is the process for gaining experience. Let's walk through the process of training warding from start to finish. Much like crafting and smithing, warding is trained by creating equipment. So let's set up our inventory and get started. To do this, you will need three things: materials, energy, and tools. Materials are sourced primarily from farming, with some resources coming from hunter, woodcutting, and combat. The materials used include fabrics, leathers, and bark. Energy can be siphoned via magic and runecrafting through the use of runes and the creation of them. Casting combat spells on certain runestone monoliths will allow you to siphon energy.
So if you heard that correctly, what they're trying to do is to remove splashing on rats and low-level monsters, and instead encourage players to go to these lodestones and basically splash on them to get energy. Now, if you are a skiller, you can go ahead and go do rune crafting, and when you rune craft, you'll get some of these energies from that specific temple. Now, they do not mention if these energies are tradable. If I had to guess, I don't think they will be tradable, because it's kind of part of the skill in itself. So if they make it tradable, then there's going to be a ton of people just AFKing at this lodestone getting energy so they can sell them, and I don't really like that idea at all. So if they keep these energies non-tradable, then I like this idea of splashing, but if it's tradable, then I think it's a totally bad idea.
Tools required to create equipment include soapstones and channeling lamps. Channeling lamps are created using smithing and crafting, and soapstones come from a new resource called steatite. Once you have your materials, energy, and tools, you are ready to make some equipment.
Okay, so based off of this information, they're not very direct on what everything does. So basically, what the lodestone does, The lodestones are what you put on the ground to make that little pattern on the ground so you can train at that location. The energy is stored in those lamps, and I'm guessing the higher level ones, they can hold more. So then when you craft something, it takes the energy from the lamps as well as your materials. And I'm guessing that the soapstones last on the ground, kind of like how fire making does. I don't know how long it's going to last on the ground, but I feel like it's going to be not too long.
Choose to do this pretty much anywhere. However, if you create equipment near a runestone monolith, the energy cost of creating equipment is reduced. 6 monoliths can be found throughout the world, resembling the large rocks you have probably seen north of Falador.
They mentioned that you can use those soapstones on the ground anywhere in RuneScape to train, or you can go to these lodestones and train right by it and use less energy that's stored in your lamp. I like the idea of going to the location and training. I don't like the idea that you can just train wherever you want, like literally right outside of a bank. I feel like to make this more of a community-driven skill, just make it mandatory that you have to go ahead and train it at these lodestones. The super rich people will just be buying everything out and just doing right outside the bank, and they don't care about losing energy. But I feel like if they just make it so you have to do it around this location, then you can see a lot more people train this skill, and you can like talk to them and make it more a social event.
You will need to draw your first ward. Wards are used to channel the needed energy for creating your magical equipment. Clicking on your soapstone will draw a ward on the ground. Now all you need to do is use your materials on your ward and select the piece of equipment you would like to create. And it is as simple as that. You'll need to visit a bank, stock up on supplies, and repeat. Now that we know how you train warding, let's take a look at some of the potential benefits for leveling up. As you've probably gathered by now, warding will allow you to create magic equipment which already exists in game. This includes Mystic, Splitbark, Skeletal, Lunar, Zerician robes, Monk's robes, Druid robes, Zamorak robes, and Wizard robes. On top of being able to create these sets, the Splitbark, Skeletal, and Lunar sets will be rebalanced to bring them new life and make them appropriately powerful. And for the lower level Monk, Druid, Zamorak, and Wizard robes, players with the required warding level will be able to create brand new hoods for each set.
So I think that is an awesome idea of adding the hoods to the set. So like, you'd be running around with a Monk's hood or a Druid's hood. I think that's really cool. Also, one type of magic armor that they did not suggest is the elemental robes and hats that the elemental wizards in south of Falador are located are wearing. I think that would be really cool to add into the skill. It'll kind of make it unique robes, so it encourages players to get their warding level up so they can get some pretty cool robes that are only specific to that skill.
Beyond existing equipment, 2 new sets of high-level mage tank armor is also being proposed as a part of warding, Bloodbark and Soulbark. The stats of these armors are not yet finalized at the time of making this video, but they will be made available in a developer blog on the Old School website in the near future.
So I read some of the comments on YouTube, and those 2 pictures, people were commenting of how shitty they looked. They literally think that's what it's going to look like in the game if they add it. And like, people are so stupid, man. Like, those are just placeholders for what they're trying to talk about.
Nightmare Zone has been home to ring imbues for quite some time, but both the community and the Old School team agree that it isn't an ideal home for them. Thematically, warding is the perfect fit. If warding were added to Old School, these ring imbues would move from Nightmare Zone and would become a perk of the skill. On top of imbuing existing rings, it would also be possible to create channeled rings. Rings which provide varying skilling perks with finite charges. The effects of these rings will come down to what the community would like to see. An example might be the Ring of Amber, which could provide you with a chance of double produce when farming. Finally, we have Dissolving.
Alright, so they mentioned removing imbued rings from Nightmare Zone. I don't like that idea because I've spent a lot of points already on those to imbue those rings, and I'm sure a lot of other people have. So do we get reimbursed, or do we just lose those points altogether? And on top of that, there are people out there that just like to do combat stuff, so forcing them to skill to get imbued rings and other items, I don't think is a good idea. I think the best way for them to do it is somehow connect it so you can get it both in Nightmare Zone, both in warding. However, you can get it a lot faster if you train it through warding. Also, something that they should also implement into Nightmare Zone rewards is also the scroll of redirection. I feel like that fits the theme too, because it's magic and you're basically redirecting a teleport tab. adding that into the warding skill too would be a good idea and would make sense. Another item that they can add into it is rune pouches. So the only way to get rune pouches is through mysterious emblems to buy. Maybe that there could be like a smaller rune pouch that holds 2 or a bigger one that holds 4 that you can make through warding, and also a 3 if you wanted to. So that way you don't have to go play bounty hunter and get mysterious emblems or just straight up buy it. I feel like that would be also something that they could add into this skill. And here they're going to dive into dissolving. Already I gave my opinion on it. I don't think many people would use this dissolve portion unless somehow it gives you a lot of XP and it's worth it. However, I think Ironmen are the only ones that can really benefit from this.
Is the process of returning items to their base parts. This is done by using these items on a ward, much like you would when training the skill. However, no experience is gained in doing so. Instead of experience, you will have a small chance of receiving some materials and a guaranteed chance to receive a small amount of runic energy. For example, you can dissolve iron equipment for a chance of receiving iron bars and a guarantee of receiving mined energy. The higher your warding level, the more you can dissolve. There we have it, warding, Old School's first new skill. This video is very much an overview of warding to get you familiar with the general concept and the goals of the proposal. For the full details, please read the developer blog on the Old School website. Thank you all for watching, have a great week, and I'll see you next time.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that I think channeled rings is a bad idea as well. We got so many pieces of jewelry that have different effects and stuff towards skilling, especially the new ones they just added recently, like the jade, the opal, like those kind of jewelries. They added a ton of new skilling benefits to those. So adding more through channeled rings I think is a bad idea. I don't think we need any more things to help us skill. We already have a ton of jewelry, but that's just my opinion on it. They haven't really gave any suggestions yet of what these channeled rings can do to help skilling, so I can't really speak much about it. But just kind of the concept that they're trying to propose, I'm not a big fan of, because we already have a lot of that through jewelry. So yeah, that was the trailer that they used to promote this skill. Also read about it on the Old School Red's website for more information. In general, I like this skill. It has an old school feel to it. I feel like this could have been added, like they said, it could have been added whenever RuneScape was released. You know, I'm actually surprised no one has thought of this before, because it is filling a gap that is missing in RuneScape. I do like the fact that it focuses on low to middle tier magic armor, because that's what smithing does with armor, that's what crafting does with ranged armor. So it only makes sense, and it kind of adds to the nostalgia of having to grind low level stuff to get to 99. Like use farming for example. I've been farming watermelons forever. I'm almost 99 and the highest level it is 47. People in free to play make hard leather bodies till 99 for crafting. So this perfectly fits in with for the grind of having a skill, but that's my opinion on it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any comments of anything, if you think I'm a total idiot and disagree with me, go ahead and leave a comment, and we can debate this. That's kind of what's cool about Jagex. They like to hear our opinions on stuff. Like, we could totally vote this skill no if we don't like it, but I feel like we should give them a chance, and then they will give us a chance to make our voices heard of what we like and what we dislike. So I feel like this is a great opportunity for the community and Jagex to get together to really perfect a skill that everyone likes and will be good for RuneScape for the long run. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.